we saw, well, yeah, I was in a meeting, but we've got the show table cooking. It's on the right side. I kind of would rather that was on the left. But in any event, let's see this large pot that we missed out on. Well, I didn't actually watch at the time. Linus had 3-bet pre-flop, made a half pot c-bet, barreled on an ace, about 60% pot, and then on the river, he has gone ahead and jammed. Mr. Flushie has called him down. Linus says top pair. Flushie says bluff catcher. And the bluff catcher is no good. So that was the only stack that went flying so far. Yeah. Here we go. I mean, Linus Flushie showing cards. Pretty good. Pretty good situation here. I think they're going to play for about 90 minutes. So let's observe. And maybe today, for a change, let's watch some poker instead of talking to high-stakes players about off-topic stuff. As good as that is, I just feel a bit bad for the people who like the poker. I'll see about potentially getting a co-commentator. I don't know if a co-commentator really suits me, to be honest, but it's probably something smart to do, especially since I'd like to outsource the commentary of these matches to someone that's not me. They're playing some 4max 5k PLO, great format. Yeah, good morning, man. Good morning to people in the chat. Mr. Flushie on overcard queen here fires a pot-sized barrel, displays the overpair, the absolute nuts. Yeah, let's focus in on the show table. Jack 10-5. What size will Linus use for a c-bet here? He does tend to be aggressive with small sizings on flops. Shows a backdoor straight and flush draw. Pretty good hand. Flushie 3-betting on the other table. Linus tanking a little bit. I'd love to see the absolute worst hands that they defend out of the big blind today if one goes to showdown. I want to see if they're defending like 7-3 offsuit, 7-2. Like I want to see just how far it's going in terms of pre-flop VP. But yeah, Linus after a long tank does 4-bet on the left table. Flushie calls him pretty quick. Off to a flop. Flushie delayed stab here on the right table on the flush complete. Linus probably coming up with a decent amount of check raises compared to most players on that card. Quarter pot c-bet and the 4-bet pot from Linus. Flushie not going to fold. Snap check on a 4 with SPR of about 80% pot. Flushie 3/4 barrel after check back flop and stab turn. Will Linus have a hand to continue? It does. Flushie has value. Linus calls him down. Ace of diamonds 5. Yeah, pretty cold. Linus is going to ram turn on left table here. We will not see his whole cards. Flushie juices a 3-bet. They're a little bit deep, so the 3-bet is 1 blind more than Flushie normally makes it. 12 BB total. 10-6-5 with a flush draw. I can imagine we're going to see at least 2/3 pot for a c-bet sizing. If it happens, Flushie will find a check this time. Bigfoot Bert says he's loving the battles, heads up. What win rate do you think these guys would have against a 200 no limit 6-max reg in heads up? I mean, if you word it like that, and you're basically saying like the 6-max reg from low stakes doesn't even play heads up, yeah, I think 15 to 20 BB is actually pretty reasonable, man. Because like if they don't even know how to play pre-flop, like they're in so much trouble. And this is an anti-format where you have to play like infinite hands all the time. So Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance a 200 no limit 6 max reg would face a raise, have like Jack 4 offsuit, and just think, okay, I got to fold here. And so they're folding like 20% of range when they just can't afford to. For an example of how much they're going to be missing EV. So, yeah, I don't know, mate. They'd get fucking smoked. Flushie, large overjam here on the left. Pretty exciting stuff. Possibly taking advantage of the fact that he can have king queen and the best Linus can do is an 8. So it puts Linus in a tough spot. Unfortunately, not the show table. We will not see what he had there. Linus has gone for 2 stabs, flop and turn here. Flushie, check call, check call. And now river flush complete. Almost pot SPR behind. 90% pot effective behind. Will Linus jam? It's a very good card for his stabbing range. He gets there with some straights and flushes, and can also just have like sets and 2-pair in his range. So Linus range looking pretty strong here. Flushie gonna have to dig deep if he wants to find calls, unless of course he check called flop with ace high flush draw, which he did. And Linus decides not to go for value with top pair and a club, which certainly could have value bet, but I guess what Linus is saying here is basically he just thinks it's too thin for a full pot shove, and he probably doesn't want to bet any other sizing. So he decides it's just too thin for the full pot jam, basically. And Flushie has taken the trickster line of trying to check call an ace high hand, and get it to showdown, but he actually does make the flush. Very interesting board run out. Wouldn't have been crazy to see Linus jamming. Like, Flushie has to call down a bunch of random hands because his range is quite weak overall. So for Linus to get called when he has this, like by a worse hand, it's totally, it's totally doable. But overall, is it, possibly too thin? Flushie sometimes trapping pocket aces post flop, for example. So yeah, interesting hand. Good check back by Linus. Linus still up overall in today's match by, half a buy-in to 1 buy-in or so. Oh man, busy times. Okay, we see the small check raise against like 40% sized c-bet on this queen 3-3. Linus will peel. Turn is a queen. So it's an interesting card. Oh, and this sizing is pretty spicy. So Flushie basically saying, hey, I'm betting a sizing where I want you to fold peeled backdoor spades and backdoor hearts. Also, I want to put you in an annoying spot on the river when you have ace high. So Linus will call, and now Flushie, after doing this, what is he going to do on river in terms of sizing? He's just going to block for quarter pot. So, weird spot, because it's so easy for him to overbluff for this line. Like, if you take all the hands you flop check raise, you decide to barrel them 2 times more offering your opponent like fucking 4 and 5 to 1 to make the call down. It's quite ridiculous. Like, Linus is a man who plays the math, but will he read into this in some particular way? Quite a strange looking spot. He's going to tank and fold. He is correct. BJ doesn't just show value, he shows like the straight up nuts. So Asian Flushie, yeah, very strange line there. Tricky line. Didn't get a customer this time. I mean, Linus probably had like ace or king high, to be fair. But even that feels hard to fold, getting, what was it, 4, 5 to 1 on the river. Spicy one from Linus here, so second barrel comes in from Flushie, and Linus is large check raising, leaving like a 1 SPR for river, or even less, slightly less than 1 SPR river. They plan on playing today, to that question in the chat, another approximately, let me have a look, 1 hour and 20 minutes. So yeah, on the river here, we got, what is that, an 85% pot behind from Linus. He check raised, Flushie called, and the river paired it. So possibly a slightly bad card for Linus if he does have a straight. Flushie will make some full houses on this river, but I don't think that will deter Linus. I think straights are good enough to go here. And yeah, he'll likely be jamming those. Will he give up some bluffs on this card? You know, it is still an interesting card in general. If Linus check raised like 6-7 or 6-4, he might look for a river check call. So yeah, a bit of a spicer. What hands will BJ want to turn into a bluff? Linus does actually have the low straight and check the river. Flushie does not bet, which doesn't really mean anything. You know, we don't know if he gave up a bluff, and we don't know if he gave up a hand that had showdown. A strange check from Linus there with 5-3. I'm not sure if he's just doing this to protect his checking range. Like, that certainly might be what he's doing. Or is he thinking it is a little bit too thin on the top pair repeat card? Because of all the cards that make a full house, usually the top pair pairing is the one, you know, that people are most likely to have jacks up instead of, like, people will just slow play a little bit more with a middle two, bottom two kind of hand. Not that they would fold it to a turn raise. Maybe this is applying too much PLO logic to hold him. I'm not sure. But it does look like a strange hand to check the river with 5-3. Because say Bjorn had top pair and rivered trips, like, will Bjorn value shove it? Maybe Linus thinks yes 100% of the time, which could be true. And in that case, it's just interesting to sometimes check some value hands, knowing that all the coolers are still getting stacked. So yeah. Not sure if that's a standard play, and not sure if that's some sort of interesting dynamic between the two players. Cydrus in the chat says Asian Flushie is a wreck. Absolutely not. Asian Flushie is up money against Linus at after playing him for 80,000 hands of heads up no limit hold'em. So Asian Flushie is like one of these underground players that you might not have heard of before, but he's played Berry Sweet for 180,000 hands of heads up no limit. He's played Linus for 80,000 hands. He's played Make Boy Finn for at least 50k hands, if my memory is correct. He has played a shitload of heads up no limit. And you could easily say that actually Asian Flushie is the end boss of heads up no limit. Well, it's probably Berry still, but Flushie has played everybody, has played infinite hands. So, and he's up money against 2 out of 3 of the world's best opponents from his perspective. So yeah, certainly not a wreck. Do we know Flushie's screen name on ACR or Stars, or is it the same? I mean, I think Asian Flushie is his PokerStars screen name. I don't know if he plays ACR or has played ACR. Flushie, so he mainly plays live games in Macau, often playing the largest available live public game. So Flushie, less of a man to try to business his way into these good game spots, and more of a man who's just happy to show up for a consistent grind and happy to accept challenges, obviously, based on who he's playing today. So nothing too crazy between these guys yet. When Klein was playing Flushie, they were playing a third table, but Linus and Flushie are just playing the two. Happy for more of a chilled grind, and very nice of them to play a table where their cards are getting shown. I did request it of them, but if they were pushing back and saying, "Hey, look, we really don't want to show that many cards," and blah blah blah, I would have said, you know what, that's completely understandable. You're playing for $40,000 of your own money per buy-in, so I think it's really cool that they've agreed to this. It's really awesome. What we're planning on doing is getting a lot of the interesting showdowns, putting them together, making them into like a bit of a video, telling the story of what's going on, why these guys are playing, a little bit of insight from the players, maybe a comment here or two, some live interview, like I did speak to Flushie, go through a lot of really interesting things. Unfortunately, a lot of them can't be used publicly, but he did tell me some stories about playing live poker with Stefan. He did tell me some stories about specific reads in his matches against some of his opponents. So Flushie's the kind of guy who, like, he has no problem speaking openly about stuff, but at the same time, like, he respects what the game is, you know? And poker is a game of information. You can't just go sharing information and expect it not to have some sort of backlash to you. And with the stakes that these guys play, like, information sharing could cost him like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like if he has a solid read on his opponent, and because he mentions it publicly, or somebody else mentions it publicly, uh, they find out that this is the case, and then they can do the opposite in the situations where he thinks he has a solid read, and they're playing 20,000, 30,000 hands of heads up. You know, this could easily cost him a shitload of money. So it's totally understandable that he does not want to have things like that discussed. But I think he's the kind of guy where if you bumped into him in person, you know, he's not going to hide something, you know? He seems like a very open and honest dude. Has Kaihan quit Flushie? Says JPM. No, I think Kaihan wants to continue playing, but Kaihan has some obligations that made him busy for the rest of the month, and he'll be back in February. So we'll see, man. There's a lot of talk of different matches. Yeah, a lot of talk of different matches. But my plan is let's organize one official match between two guys over the month of February. So this is like a little bit of a teaser of what's to come. Who will play in that match? I don't know. But there's a lot of people that are interesting. C Lama is someone that I'd really like to see play because C Lama is just an entertainer, man. Like he will consider the fans in his actions. He will come and do some interviews. Uh, 2x pot shove on the left, but no call and no showdown, sadly. Yeah, but Sea Llama would be fantastic because from a fan perspective, he'll give you a lot of insight into what he's thinking, into what he thinks about his opponents. He'll come on and just answer questions and shit. So Sea Llama is just fantastic to work with from a content perspective because he also just cares about making a good show for the fans. Some of these other guys, it's just not their thing. Like I think Linus is entertaining just because it's so known that this is one of the sickest players, you know? People have seen him play live now. People have a little bit of an insight into his character. Him just being around this kind of event or being the opponent in this kind of event is great for the fans because he's such a notable name. But like Linus jumping on a call and sharing what he thinks of his opponents and specific reads and stuff is not something you can expect him to do. So there's lots of different people that would make for a good match. Flushie, very willing to play ball when it comes to entertaining the fans and shit as well. So out of all of the guys, I'd really like to see C Llama. That would be my number one, just as an enjoyer of the event. But all these guys are fucking interesting. All these guys are super interesting. So we'll see. I'm not sure what the February thing is going to be, but we'll get whoever we can that we think will make some entertaining content that wants to play. And we'll just try and deliver it for you guys. We'll try and have a full-time stream coverage, so whenever the guys play, we have someone who will come on, make some, hopefully, decent commentary. So we'll get someone who actually knows about No Limit Hold'em instead of me. Could be smart. Or just someone who's, more entertaining and neutral. I'm quite like, I don't know. I don't think I'm a very good commentator for something like this. But I'm doing it for now, just so somebody's doing it. Because I don't want you guys to miss some of the potentially really awesome shit that goes down. Yeah. Yeah, and Cydrus, in any type of longer videos for YouTube or whatever that we're going to make sure to do some sort of a basic introduction of who these guys are, because a lot of the people watching the video aren't going to know that Asian Flushie is this underground, sick, respected, high stakes heads up reg. A lot of people are not going to have any clue whatsoever who this dude is. This is a guy that only the top players know and respect. He's very underground. So, but I mean, awesome character and story. So if you can just work that into a video, give a little bit of an explanation, I think a lot of fans of the game would love to know who he is and what he's done and some of the stories. What kind of barrel size is Linus going to use on this card? It's quite an interesting card. I imagine he bets larger when he bets. Not overbet though. I'd imagine less than pot. Or maybe pot. But that's just a guess. He bets pot. So not a terrible guess, at least. Flushie going to have a lot of one pair hands that are drawing dead to different parts of Linus's range. And I think that's what Linus wants to flex. Flushie obviously can also have Jack 10, and Flushie can also trap Jack 10, expecting Linus to do some shoving on this river. I think Linus will probably end up having a few sizes on this river, and all of them are not small. So like the smallest I can imagine him betting is like 75, but probably more. It's probably like pot as the smallest river bet size. And he's going to just shove this time for 3 times the pot. So Flushie, no instant call, so no Jack 10. Flushie going to just have a tough decision here. I mean, Linus will be shoving hands that can beat Ace Jack and Ace 10. To be fair, I don't think Flushie, just based on pre-flop, can have Ace Jack. He's going to have Ace 10, but only sometimes. So Flushie's going to be in a really cooked spot here. He's going to have a lot of just like top pair, no side kicker. Like that's relevant, just like Ace 8, Ace 7, Ace 6, Ace 3, Can he call these hands on the river? Probably not. And then like, does he have to wait for 2 pair, like Queen 5? Like, can he even have King Queen offsuit? Like barely, right? So he needs like Queen 5. Or sometimes Ace 10. Like Flushie's range is sick weak. So when he doesn't have the trap Jack 10, like he's just fucked. And Linus is putting pressure, max pressure on that. Flushie calls it, look, probably with 1 pair. Linus is bluffing. Yeah, and Flushie he says, you know what? Fuck this game. Fuck this spot. Fuck the fact that I can't have anything. Linus is a sick enough lag that he's going to be jamming infinite shit here. I'm just going to call him down with some fucking dry top pair. So the reason, again, just to go over this spot a little bit, I'm not a pro heads up, no limit dude or anything, but it's a spot where Flushie, the only hands Flushie really improves, like Flushie can't really have ace king, you know, he's pre-flop flat at the big blind. With that in mind, he can't really have ace jack, and he also 3-bets ace 10 and even offsuit pre, and obviously suited. So when he's check called the flop, he's going to have less ace 5 and less king 5. He can still have these hands. But when he gets to the turn, the only hand he really improves with is like queen 5 and jack 10. You know? So he could have ace 5, king 5, queen 5, or jack 10. When he doesn't have jack 10, oh wow, actually I just realized Flushie had ace 8. So he actually had 2-pair and was tanking. I thought he made like a fuck you call with like effectively ace 7 on this board, but it was ace 8. I love being partially blind. So yeah, interesting. Flushie goes for a deep tank there with ace 8. I mean, they're basically the same hand. Ace 8 and ace 7. They're almost the same hand. So it's understandable that he also tanks with that. I would imagine he just has to call it though, so it's not really worth burning the time bank. Because he's got so many weak hands, like just one pair. So much one pair in his range. Blocks river improvements. Linus isn't repping king 8, mate. And Linus isn't repping ace 8 either. Jackie Joe said you'd be scared that it's not a value trick. Yeah, but it's just a tough spot, right? Let's go back to this hand one more time because it's quite interesting. If you're flushy here and you've check called the turn, like you don't have that much 2-pair. Sure, like you could improve to 2-pair on the river, which apparently he was still tanking with. But outside of that, like if you just have one pair, like are you gonna let Linus steal the pot off you every single time you have one pair? Because it's like my point was simply that it's very hard for Flushie to have top pair that also blocks the straight because he 3-bets a lot of them pre-flop, like all of the ace jack and most of the ace 10, or at least some of it, I guess. I don't know how much. Yeah, interesting spot, man. Glad we saw that one. No idea how Flushie's supposed to react on the river. With his hand, I imagine he's supposed to call, but like say he just has top pair dry. Or say he has like queen 5 or king 5 or some shit. What's he supposed to do there? Blocking pocket 5s like might actually be relevant enough to make it a call. Like maybe queen 5 is better than ace 8 in this specific situation. Yeah, that's one of the things that's changed about No Limit over time. Like since Isildur came into play and sort of gave birth to frequent overbetting, you're going to see stacks fly into the pot way more frequently as people started to understand that this is just part of how the game is supposed to be played. So, yeah. Hold'em will never be the same as when we were kids. But that's good. I mean, it's taking advantage of the fact that it's really a no-limit game. It was almost 3x pot on the river. Yes, it was 3x pot. It was slightly over, right? 36k shove into 11k pot. Jackie says if he's ramming ace queen for value, I mean, that's absolutely disgusting if he's doing that. I mean, I don't know what the dynamic is like, though. Are you guys surprised that Flushie tanked with ace 8? As an outside observer, that surprises me quite a lot. Because he'll surely be aware of how weak he is himself, but maybe he's just sitting there and counting all of the other kind of hands that he can call with. Sorry, all the other combos of hands that he can call with. and then just trying to guess like, is ace 8 worse than queen 5, king 5, etc. Because pocket fives could take the same line that Linus took there, whereas like pocket eights is not doing that. CT spamming some bankroll question in the chat, bro. Like, don't blame somebody else for your own gambling decisions, you know? It sounds like you're trying to justify punting around with money. Just go do whatever you want. It's your money, bro. Also, there's no shortcuts in poker, you know? I mean, it is gambling. You can just put it all on the line and win. Um, but in terms of like winning, approaching the game in a successful way, whatever you want to call that, there's no real shortcut. You just need to improve at the game and stuff. You can't just say like, "Oh, I found the magical buy-in strategy. I'm gonna shot take like this, and now I'm rich." You know, that thought doesn't exist, bro. But whatever bankroll you set for yourself, always be willing to move down if you lose a certain amount of money. Otherwise, you can bust yourself. But if you adhere to reasonable, strategy with your bankroll, and you're playing in games that you're winning in, then yeah, sure, you'll be fine. It's not, he says it's a real question just as a challenge, bro, for fun. It's not fun to read a spammed, shitty, low stakes question, mate. Okay? I haven't enjoyed. So if it's fun for you, great. Go over to the mirror, start talking to yourself about your bankroll question, okay? But it's not very exciting from my perspective. Spamming this line of text into the chat. Guys, this is fun. This is so much fun. Oh, Shadismo says, Ace Eightaments is a hand that Linus. How often does he bet on the turn? That's what I'm curious about. I would imagine he's not. Like, if I'm just going to take a guess here, I'll say that he only bets Ace 8 like this on the turn a third of the time. But yeah, I guess Ace 8 is in there a bit on the river to punish like the Queen 5, King 5 shit. Baller, what up? He says Ace 8, same as other Ace X, but humans tend to station their two pairs. Yeah, for sure. I tell you, the most human thing ever is to call like with one pair, improve their hand on the river, and then it doesn't matter what size bet they're facing because their hand improved. They just have like some sort of emotional commitment, and it's like impossible to fold. Third of all middling Ace X, yeah, seems reasonable. That's the sick thing about watching these kind of games. Like, you're just chilling, and then out of nowhere, like some sick hand. Take a peek on this right table. The ace from space drops. Linus tanking, so I'm assuming he has the betting lead here. Probably a 3-bet and a half-ish or 60% c-bet on this board. Ace on turn, will he block? He will not bet this time. SPR, what? 125% pot? 130% pot? Flushie finds the quarter stab in position here. Assuming I'm right about the c-bet. Do you know what? There's a chance that Linus didn't c-bet and Flushie stabbed the flop, and then Linus was just tanking for a turn donk. It's definitely possible too. Yeah, we're not sure, or at least I'm not sure, which of the two lines is what's actually happening. River monstrous brick, full brick. Will Flushie jam for 2/3 pot? He checks river with top. Ah, okay, so we went for a little, as people like to say, value trick on the turn. Let's see, though, how the hand went down. I don't think Linus... Actually, no, he could easily c-bet here. But he probably check called the flop, right? So Linus 3-bets. He actually does c-bet. Larger sized c-bet. Pocket sevens with a spade. Turn ace and Flushie goes for this interesting, like, bet on turn. Because he doesn't really care if he gets shoved on or whatever. Even though, I mean, it might look a little bit painful. And then he's hoping to improve his hand on the river. And to get more value, but he doesn't, and he gets the value anyway. So, interesting one from Flushie. My baby's just woken up. I'm gonna go say hello briefly. Oh, all right. Squeeze me. Oh, bit of a spicer here. How did this hand go down? So 3-bet pot. Linus probably c-betting. Full pot c-bet, backdoor straight and flush. Flushie calls bottom pair with a backdoor straight and flush, and that's it. Linus is gonna quote unquote take his showdown with bottom pair, and Flushie is going to somehow survive with bottom pair flop. Rodriguez Romain says, is Linus on the same level than Red Baron? Like, nobody wants to play him. I think the landscape is slightly different because at the top of No Limit Hold'em Heads Up are a bunch of dudes who, or not a bunch, there's like 4 dudes or whatever in total, maybe 5, who do want to battle at some point, you know? And you're seeing 2 of them playing against each other. So actually, maybe there's more like 6 people, 7 people who would play. Maybe not these stakes, but people who would play like 20K buy-in or higher. So I wouldn't say nobody wants to play. I mean, 99.9% of regs certainly don't want to play. But for the people that do want to play, yeah. The leveling discussion in the chat is interesting. And I think this Magnus Carlsen comment is right. I think when you're playing against somebody who's considered like one of the best, you can definitely level yourself into making some worse decisions than you're capable of. Like if you remember Prime Phil Ivey, like Prime Phil Ivey was just always right, you know, with his reads on spots and stuff like that. But part of the reason was that people played with a fear against him. Like he just had such a massive edge because people were always playing like not their A game, you know, just playing in fear of, oh no, he's going to read me for this, he's going to do that, like playing too weak in some spots. And then he's able to read into that and say, well, this guy's just playing so weak against me, he's so scared of me, he's not going to try and make a move here in this way or whatever. So I don't know. Ivy had like a really good stretch of just this undefeated mindset. Pretty sick one on the left here. I was seeing if I'm not mistaken, a small c-bet from Linus, a small in position raise from Flushie, and Linus is coming in with the click. We do not see the showdown, but the click trying to punish Flushie for small raising with pairs, you know, possibly even an under pocket pair, a flopped 7. Obviously, Flushie could still have a jack, but considering he folded to the min click, he did not have it this time. Sharky says, didn't OTB have proprietary solver and tapped out when they went public? I'm not sure like how OTB's career came to an end. I don't actually know. It felt like he just made a bunch of money and then was moving on from poker. Dude in the chat says, can one make a career nowadays playing only heads up? Most sites don't have heads up, and the action is very limited. What do you guys think? I think probably not. I mean, you could if you really have the dollars already and invest in yourself in the future. Like if you decide, okay, I'm going to become one of the best players, and you just sit there playing against Solver the entire time, and then you play some practice matches against other good players on apps, and you really refine your game, and then you step out into the public and just start playing all of the actual best players, but you're slightly better than them. Sure, you can make a fuckload of money probably. But there's also a lot of variance if the win rates are low, as Asian Flushie will attest. Where's Mr. Mokri? I think he's gone for the month. He had some real life plans that he had to do for the remainder of February. So he was only available for like a week basically, and that week is over. But we may see him back. We may see Sea Llama and him battling in the next month. Wow, very strange line there. Was this some sort of misclick? Or was it check raise 3-bet? Let's have a look. It's a single raise pot, $2,200 pot. Check. Okay, so it's bet, small raise, and then Flushie puts on the doubler. Linus folds and Flushie shows him just a dirty jack 5 off, no BDF. That's quite a nice one. So yeah, I think if you decide that you want to make money in poker, going into the basement for heads up and then coming out to play the dudes that are the best at the maximum stakes, it's probably not your best poker career decision choice, but it could work. And you also need a shitload of money to even try it. Most people are better off just learning a game format where lots of whales want to play, like maybe PLO5, and becoming good in that niche. At least that's what I would recommend to people that are committed to poker. Okay, Flushie going to stab third here in 3-bet pot after Linus checks. I quite enjoy these small stabs, like in ring games, because I think when people check flops in 3-bet pots, they don't do it in a balanced way. People tend to over c-bet their value in ring. I think at least it's a common mistake. So I like these kind of small stabs, even on boards where it might not be a thing. But Flushie going for small stab here against Linus, it's going to be very different ideas behind that. Flushie's shown quite a lot that he's willing to value bet lower pairs a couple of times just to keep his opponent guessing as to how thin he's betting. So if Flushie had a 6 or an 8 here, I won't be surprised. And if Linus tries to put pressure on those hands after the turn check back, I also won't be surprised. He's just going to block the river and say, hey, bro, I've got like ace 8 or better. Or maybe even slightly weaker than ace 8. 10-8 or something. Linus has ace 8. Flushie has a jack this time, though. But Linus's block bet, even though he lost the pot, wasn't unsuccessful there. He lost the absolute minimum. Like, if he checked ace 8 on the river and faced a large bet, he would at least have to consider calling. I mean, honestly, he probably does call. But yeah, he'd have to at least consider it. Whereas blocking himself puts pressure on Flushie and also sort of sets the price when he's beat, because Flushie on that river can't afford to go raising too thin. Someone says, "Do you think most top pros today would obliterate everyone in the early 2000s?" I mean, what do you think, bro? What do you think? I think the answer is pretty obvious. That's 20 years ago, you know? Everyone was a full-blown fucking whale. Like, I played 20 years ago, or almost 20 years ago. And I'll tell you the standard stuff that was going on back then. People were opening 100% on the button in ring. People were calling every single pocket pair in every position to any raise. Or, you know, any single preflop raise. In 2005, 6, 7, 8. Nobody had a preflop chart. Nobody knew how to. It was just like pure guesswork. It was honestly, it was a great time to play poker. Not just because you could make money, but because the game was about creativity and understanding what other people are thinking and incorporating that into your game. You know, it was just pure creativity and work, how people develop their strategies. Whereas now it's like just some people copying a piece of paper. Like, that's not interesting. Like, I get it. Due to the copied paper, people have been able to take the game tree deeper. But there's no actual element of human involvement in that. Like, most of it's just running sims and trying to remember stuff. Whereas back in the day, it was gambling, you know? People were gambling. The equivalent of it these days is playing games that are much more complicated that can't really be solved in practical ways, like PLO or even PLO 5. I don't like the games with more cards because they become too nitty. At least, you know, I'm not capable of playing in a way that's not too nitty. But yeah, PLO 4 I think is just a much superior game because it reminds me of this kind of old school Hold'em spot where there's a lot more. People just have their strategies that they've cooked up, you know, and you can read into it, you can try to take advantage of it, you can cook up some weird shit yourself. There's a lot more creativity in a game where people just literally can't copy solver because it's too many combos. I remember the disgust when the 1/3 CBET became prevalent, says Sharky. Yeah, I mean, I was doing stuff like that way before as well. I thought it was like sicko tech, you know, like where people would fold to a micro bet and you were like, yeah, I destroyed this guy. And we would do like, I would do things like this. I would 3-bet a guy, I would have ace king. On the flop, I would c-bet like 2 BB into like 25 or whatever. They would peel with entire range, obviously. And then on any turn, I would just check and just call them down with ace king high. You know, force them to peel their air, and then you just break their neck with ace king. Classic strat. Or you're in some hand and somebody's like re-raised pre-flop live, you know, and that you're like, ah, this guy has ace king, obviously, and you just call with like pocket twos. Flop doesn't have an ace or a king on it. They bet, you call. No ace or king on the turn. They barrel, you call. River, no ace or king. They go all in. You snap them off. They show you ace king, and you say, I put you on ace king, mate. Pocket deuces. So this was poker, man, back in the day, bro. Good shit. Would recommend if you ever get a time machine, head back to World War II, but on your way, stop and smell the roses with some 2007 online party poker. You will enjoy. Big anti no limit hold'em, much more fun, less solved, says the dude in the chat. Yeah, sure. I think adjust the game going forward. I think forcing antis is a good start because it creates a lot more loose pre-flop action. Like necessity to call raises from lots of different positions, complicating the game a lot more. Like I get that regs who've studied a bunch don't want to have to change, but like the game isn't here to reward the reg who's studied a bunch, you know? The game should consider what does the VIP, the man who is required for the game to exist, what does he want to do? What better suits his taste and why he ever comes to gamble in the first place? So if he likes playing loose and likes playing in a game where everybody's playing looser, sure, chuck some large antes in, force the regs to play looser. They will play looser because the game format requires it for you to be profitable. So yeah, I think that kind of stuff makes way more sense. I mean, part of me also just likes the purity of the game element, but I think you basically have to structure what you do around sustainable ecosystem. So whatever the VIPs want, that's what they should get. Okay, little internet lag going on. How were people consistently good in that era of complete gambling? It's not an era of complete gambling. It just means that however you built your style didn't have answers. But people still build a style, right? Like, so a guy decides, all right, I'm going to play 30% on the button and I'm going to open for large. And this was a legit thing that some of the good players were doing at that time. Yeah, the reason that that strategy was successful is because people didn't realize they're like, oh, this guy's super laggy because he's like spewing off stacks post, you know? But they didn't realize like, fuck, he's only playing like 30% of hands on the button. So they see a button open from the loose guy and they're like, okay, I'm going to 3-bet, but it's like, actually his range is super tight there. So they would just create like little advantages, or if it was coincidence or not, that's hard to say. But they would develop something that was successful. They would notice the trend of success and they would continue it. And then other people would say, oh, this guy's doing this. I'm going to copy that, you know? And the game developed like this. Nobody really had answers as the basis. Whereas now you have the solver. You say, well, technically it's not GTO for this and that reason. And people say it in a way that they believe they're intelligent. It's like, bro, you just literally copied, you cheated, you know, to have this information. There's no skill in you being aware of what a machine says. Yes, there's skill in remembering it. But do we want to play a game where it's about intuition, or do we want to play a game where it's about remembering stuff? Because I don't give a fuck about remembering shit. It's not really a skill, is it? So yeah, that's my personal take. That's why I'm less interested in No Limit Hold'em, like from you know, to play the game. But these are the guys that you're watching right now who have given so many hours to the game. They were, I don't know if they were around at that point. Flushie might have been around a little bit after that 2007-8 point. Linus probably coming in slightly after Flushie. But these dudes still, when they started playing poker, it wasn't like the solver carnival. You know, they would have had some level of experience of just the Wild West and gone from there. So yeah, these guys know both sides of the coin, and that's why I think you'll see some more out of line looking plays from both of them. It's not that they're trying to mimic Solver all the time; it's that they just have that little feeling, you know, that they can get away with something extra, or that their opponent's doing this. You know, these guys are still playing poker, even though they're doing it at a very Solver approved level. much have you made in poker? Do you think similar success is possible now? I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how much I've made in poker. If I had to guess, it would be like less than $1 million. So total career, probably 800, 900K, just at a guess. Is that possible? Sure. I mean, I think the best thing you could do if you're learning poker is look to a game format that a lot of VIPs play, that people play less, that you have access to. So maybe you can get into some sick short deck games. I mean, I think short deck kind of died. Not a very fun format, kind of trashy. I think they should have played it with blinds pot limit instead of letting it be antes and no limit, because people just shove pre with dusty hands and flip. But yeah, so say PLO5, for example. Like a lot of fish play PLO5. Nobody's good at this game. It's fucking impossible. But you could get like okay at the game relative to your opponents, and then you have a reasonable spot. Whereas if you want to battle in the no limit landscape, there's heaps of young guys that are putting in like a lot of time just trying to remember stuff. Like that's your competition. Dudes who have all the information, because no limit information can be obtained extremely easily. You don't even have to sim it yourself. Like simming no limit is super fast compared to simming 4 card. Simming 4 card is insanely fast compared to simming 5 card. So yeah, it gets exponentially harder basically with more cards to get information, which is good if you want to, if you think that you have the ingenuity and natural talent to compete with other people, then you want to play in a format where the guy who just remembers stuff is fucked because he won't be able to remember the stuff. So that's all I could really recommend. If you're just trying to play poker to make money, pick a niche where there's action, like PLO 5 card is a good example, and then just try to improve at that and let that be your niche if you're just playing for money. If you're playing for enjoyment, got to be PLO 4, got to be MTT format, best format of the game, hands down, not even close. But if you're playing for dollars, I would go PLO 5 personally. Yeah, I think somebody mentions this thing for Winamax. Yeah, I saw this the other day. There was some sick shit where they do this like random mystery bounty because I think they want to be able to advertise that like the minimum win is whatever, but the maximum win, even though you obviously have like lottery chances of winning it, is like some insane amount of money, like $700,000. I think this is a really good idea. I think that Coin Poker should implement something like that as well. I think it's a really smart idea because from a VIP perspective, VIPs just want, even though you have almost no chance of this work like happening for you, they want to see, okay, I've put in $10, and they want to see my maximum win is like fucking 250 grand. They just want to hold on to the desperate hope that that could be what happens. So I think that it's certainly an interesting way to structure a prize pool if you can create like basically a jackpot that lets you advertise that there's a potential chance at any point, even if you're only playing for like $10, $20, that you could win hundreds of thousands just out of nowhere. And not even by winning the tournament, but by just like randomly knocking someone out. So I think that that's smart advertising. I thought it was a good idea, yeah. Wild West was cool, but higher skill level of play is beautiful. Yeah, yeah. That is the debate, basically. That's a good summary of both sides. So I think from an enjoyment of play perspective, it's gone down. But from an enjoyment of watching perspective, you see some fucking sick shit. There's so many sick hands that get played. So yeah, I agree with you in that sense. It is cool to watch two people who are sick at the game playing. These dudes should be playing for like another half hour approximately. See how that develops. Flushie was a turn check back in this 15k pot. So it was probably 3-bet and c-bet by Linus. Check, check on turn. What will Linus do on river? Flushie's check back range potentially quite vulnerable. Flushie's shown to want to stab quite often. On the turn, Linus does not try to take advantage of that. And they both just showdown with some lower showdown hands. Ace, Queen, and Ace, Jack high. Yeah, just 3-bet and c-bet, I imagine. Yeah, and they check it through to the river. On the right table here, it looks like it might have been check raised on the flop and Linus checks turn. I'm guessing Flushie's quite aggro in these spots. He has a single gutter here. He's happy to stab. Let's just confirm, did Linus check raise that? Or did Flushie c-bet and barrel? Yep, small c-bet and like sizable raise, not small. Flushie peels with the gut shot and takes it down on the turn. Who would you guys like to see out of interest in the commentary booth? Just throw me some names. Like, who would make a good commentator for this stuff? Do you want someone who's like constantly breaking down the hands, like in a good way? Or do you want someone who's just kind of follow the action and enjoy, like on more of a fan level in terms of skill? Like, what makes for a good commentator when it comes to covering this stuff? Because me personally, I would say that my weakness is I will just ignore the poker far too often and talk about random shit. And I don't think that's what this content deserves. The off-topic man who forgets that he's watching poker. Interesting sizing from Flushie here in the 3-bet pot. So larger 3-bet, slightly larger than the normal 3-bet, and is popping in for a quarter pot c-bet on an 8-6-3. I would imagine larger c-bet sizes are common here. Linus going to just call, and the turn is a 10. Completing a bunch of stuff. Probably a better card for Linus than Flushie, but Flushie obviously overpairs aren't exactly weak here. We'll check it over to Linus. Charlie Carroll has been requested. Unfortunately, Charlie Carroll is MIA, man. I would love to get him for you. But he has several other business ventures to attend to. Owen best bet. I mean, the thing is, what you're talking about here is unrealistic, okay? So like Owen and C-Llama, I mean, of course, they're fucking amazing commentators. There's heaps of dudes who play massive stakes who are amazing commentators. But I'm talking about someone that can consistently afford to show up to like heads-up matches being played every day. Like those dudes are worth like 500 to 1,000 an hour, you know? The guys that you're mentioning, or probably more. So you can't exactly expect them to show up and host a stream, sit there for 2-3 hours every day, just like, yeah, poker's cool. Check these guys out. You know, they have shit going on and their time's just too valuable. So of realistic commentators that I could employ for the job, basically, who would you want to see? I'm sure those dudes will still come on sometimes. It's just not something that you could expect consistently. And I want to make sure that we have someone who's consistently available to cover this stuff. Okay, so 4-bet and c-bet from the flush man. Linus not going to fold on the 8-5-3. Board pairing 3-turn, very painful for a lot of hands in Linus's range. However, second flush draw does open up. How will Flushie play this spot? They're 1.5 SPR here. Quite curious. I imagine Flushie's just like only going for smaller to medium bets, and he's going to find the halfie. Harvey would leave half pop effective behind on the river. Clanty, good heads up, man. Maybe I'll try Clanty. I don't know what his level of interest would be. I'm not sure if he grinds a shitload or like what his deal in general is these days, but that is quite an interesting suggestion. I'm gonna hit him with a sup, bruv. Look at these two massive pots here. Maybe I'll let them resolve. Interesting river card. Linus check calls the Harvey, 8 on the river. Um, so the flush man shoved surely with the QQ, right? He didn't do like a weird check. Oh my god, please don't put that table there. Okay, I can't move that, so I'm not going to spoil this pot. Yeah, Yuan did a good job. I also like this style where the commentator is entertaining, like he's hyped up, you know? He might not know that much about like what he's watching in terms of the strategy depth, but he's following the action actively and he's excited to be there. I think that honestly makes for a better commentator, at least in my opinion, than a sick pro does. Sick pros, like they have a niche, you know? I think random fish don't enjoy a sick pro as much. So let's have a little playback of these two hands here. Just need to check, did Flushie value shove this river or did he get cold feet randomly? Surely he jammed. If 4 bets gets called, bang, bang. Yeah, he shoves. Linus folds and he shows value, okay. Over here, what did we have? This also was a large pot. So was it 4-bet pre? No, it was called. Linus goes, Linus bet. Oh, Linus bet 3-bet flop, king 9. Kong 9. B3B flop. I guess he finds a club and he just sticks it down Flushie's throat, but he doesn't do that. Check, check, turn, check, check, river. He takes his showdown, but it's no good. Bet 3-bet on flop. Quite interesting. Higher Marcus, yeah, sure. To get Marcus to do constant commentary, I would have to prop bet him something ridiculous, and if he loses, then he has to do commentary for a month. That's the only way you could get Marcus to do the commentary. You'd have to tease him with some interesting prop bet, and then you'd have to beat him in the prop bet, and he's not exactly an easy person to beat in a prop bet. So, but if I could think of something, I'll let you know, man. All right. So I guess the flush man up a little bit of money now. I'm not sure how many times Linus reloaded. The money went back and forth a bit, but like Flushy's sitting with 3 buy-ins and 2.5 buy-ins, so he has to be up like, I don't know, at least 1. So basically break even from the perspective of these players. How long have I been up? I mean, I just woke up before getting on this. Need a coffee, mate? Yeah, I used to smoke, man. I smoked for about 20 years. Ciggies and weed. I mean, I didn't smoke weed the whole time, but on and off with the weed. Ciggies for like 20 years, bro. Fucking long time to smoke. I've quit for about 5 years now, so you can read into how old I am based on that. Over 5 years, no alcohol or ciggies. Shout out sobriety. Good shit. Recommend. Tell all your friends. Kai, I'm assuming you're this dude that I know from Discord based on the trolling. Am I still in New Zealand? No, I left New Zealand. Fuck. When did I leave New Zealand, mate? Jesus Christ. It was a while ago, bro. I came to Vienna 2019. I probably left New Zealand in 2017. I'll tell you my New Zealand routine, okay? One Steinlager Pure in one hand, one Woodstock premix bourbon and coke in the other, a ciggy and a joint. That's the routine, mate. About 10 drinks a day on average for a solid 4 or 5 years. Wake up at 6 a.m. to play the morning basketball run. Probably smelling like fucking a mix of butter chicken pie and all of the alcohol. It was good times, mate. Putting up shots, playing defense, 6:30 a.m., still fucking trashed. But as far as I was concerned, nobody knew, you know? Good times, bro. The problem with your 30s is that it's not your 20s. That's the downside. So you want to just pretend it's your 20s, but it doesn't work out. You start getting hangovers and shit, you know? You start realizing if I keep getting fucking trashed every single day, I'm probably not going to do anything with my life. So yeah, I don't know, mate. You just got to grow up at some point. But it is sad to leave all the good times behind. But it's also nice to be productive and not just a worthless fucking piece of shit that's going nowhere. So, there's upsides of both. Okay, so a couple pots get played. Linus takes them down. This one being the larger of the two. So three-bet pot, pretty cold flop. Linus, does he find the weirdo check call here with pocket eights? He does, and it costs him a tower. He's going to go trap into Flushman, and Flushman is not going to value bet river with 10-9. Senses the top. Saves money. Like, the Flushman could have got binned off here for how much more? 30 more. So the strange line timing from Linus not working out particularly well there with the set. Yeah, crate day, man. Jesus Christ, bro. Nobody's gonna know what that is, by the way. That'll just be our little secret. Yeah, you're 32. Okay, so I'm 37. When I was 32, that's when I decided, fuck this shit. That was my fuck this shit yeah, period of time basically. I had an awakening. I realized I am not doing what I told myself I would do when I was younger, which is getting control over my life. I was just enjoying far too much, which, I mean, how many days, how many fucking months, how many more beers and fucking shit do you really need to drink? You know? I think you understand the point, right? You drink them, it's good, and then later on, it didn't really help you. That's basically a summary of drinking. So I said, nah, fuck this shit. I'm gonna get this out of my life. Despite having failed to quit alcohol some large amount of times prior. I don't know how many times, but probably something like 50 to 100, realistically, attempting to quit over the course of like 10 years. So, yeah, I don't know. At some point, if you don't give up, it eventually works. But I think the main motivator, at least for me and to anyone interested, is just that you do plan on being an adult at some point. But if you don't ever actively take a step, it'll never happen. You can't just assume the wife and kid stuff just, you know, arrives on your front porch. So yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend to anyone who drinks a little bit too often. I would say, you're probably an alcoholic. You should definitely quit. If you quit, the rest of your life will just be better. You're really not missing anything. You've probably done enough drinking slash drugs for an entire lifetime. So just fucking man up and leave it in the past. And after doing it for 5 years, I would say absolutely worth it. Great decision. And you still enjoy everything anyway. Take a break from going out and stuff because the temptation is too much. But like a couple years later, you can go hang out with people who are out drinking. Like I don't give a fuck if people are drinking now. Smoking's a bit annoying because it's like, you have to smell it. It's in your face and stuff. But I don't miss either to the point where I'd ever want to do them. Like I'm aware that they're just a disease for me. I don't think they're helping anyone. Is this some kind of challenge or just two sickos having fun? Two sickos plus fun. But who knows? Like if they enjoy, they might put a challenge down against each other. And if they're cool, they might inform us about it. But for now, it's just this is the second time they've played recently on Coin, 200, 400. The first time was because Cayenne, let's see the showdown. Oh, that's the nuts. Oh, Flush, man, with a very light call there. Let's check that hand out in a sec. But yeah, the first time they played recently was because Flushie's main opponent, Cayenne Mockery, slept through his alarm. And so Flushie messaged Linus, hey man, you want to play? Like this Cayenne guy is still snoozing. And now they're playing a little bit more. So we'll just see how it develops. Maybe next month these guys end up playing a bunch. But yeah, just to take a quick look at that pot. Flushie finding a call of a full pot riverbed. Flushie is the 3-better here. Linus calling. Flushie c-betting small. Linus peeling. On the turn, Flushie goes for a check. Linus is going to find half pot stab. Flushie calls. And on river, Linus is full potting. And Flushie says, you a polar sir, I call. Does he have the 7 of hearts? That's actually quite interesting. He does not. So unblocking some backdoor peels from Linus, blocking some flushes. He decides to make a brave call with the sevens, with the 7 of spades. Maybe even reading into Linus not wanting to full pot river with all of his trips. Maybe that felt a little bit too thin because Flushie could check call like ace 10, ace jack. So Linus couldn't really just go ham with ace 7 or whatever, ace 5. So not sure why Flushie made the call or what his read was, but this has got to be one of these hands where it's like it's super interesting and close whether you can make the call. And like he knows Linus is very aggressive. So what's the rake cap here? Are they playing rake free? So this is something that I brokered with Coin and suggested, like, guys, why don't we let people play show matches without rake? I think people will play each other, and then we have something entertaining for fans, which, as an aside, is good for advertising Coin. Like, if people are coming in here and they're just saying, all right, Linus and Flushie are playing, and it's on Coin Poker, there's some sort of passive advertising that's doing, which is good for the business. It's good for the players that they get to play on a site where they know that they can trust that the money is safe. Whereas, like, say these guys played on an app and had to settle, there is some sort of like, I mean, they probably trust each other, so it doesn't matter with these two dudes in particular. But some people who would play each other would rather have the money like actually locked up in an address that's effectively escrowed instead of saying, okay, if you lose 200K, like you have to pay me after, and then having no recourse to actually getting the money if the guy decides to fuck them. So yeah, basically it's good to have an environment for players to play. And if it's in a public eye, we can simply use that for marketing and say, well, hey, fans of the game want to see this. Let's give the players like zero rake as some sort of a benefit. And as you saw in the Cash Game World Championship, not only did they do zero rake, they also gave a prize, which I've just received last night. It's in my possession. It's the most expensive watch I've ever interacted with. It's like 40 something thousand euros, this watch. And I need to get it engraved for our one man, Mr. Prodigy, who recently won the event. So if they're going to do more events like that are just cool marketing events where they give away a prize and stuff, I think it's really good, like for the future of the business, for the reputation of the business, and just the general direction of sort of where poker's heading in the future. Like, think more about the fans of the game with your decisions. Use high stakes to advertise, like, check out these sick players. These are the best players playing the highest stakes. Because back in the day, Full Tilt Poker Rail Heaven, this was like super fun to watch, like the absolute beast players playing. So why not try to recreate that environment? I mean, that was great for their business back then. It was great for the game in general back then. So, I mean, with people actively playing these stakes but doing it privately, why not bring that into the public light and involve the fans? So yeah, long answer to your comment, but that's the answer. How did I go from Double Dragon to hosting poker content? Yeah, no idea, mate, but I did play Double Dragon 2 quite a bit as a kid. Fucking great game. I even saw what was it, the Sega Master System the other day in like some retro video game store, and I thought about buying it just for shits and gigs, but my girl does not really like this hard to see what the graphics are really trying to show you type of old school gaming. So I don't think she'd sit there grinding flying knees, you know, and the uppercuts with me. Is there a picture online of the watch? I'm curious how it looks. It's called a Rolex Daytona Ghost. So you can probably just get that off Google or whatever. It's quite, I gotta say, the packaging on this shit is fancy as fuck. Like, the packaging for this watch probably costs like 1,000, you know, like the box that it's in. It's quite fancy. And the Flashman got cooked for another stack? Or was that was just the sevens hand, right? Just check this pot sizes of late. In case I missed something. Yeah, it's just the sevens hand. But the Flashman winning over here, yeah? I mean, this looks kind of interesting. Linus going to check raise King 4 of diamonds here. I mean, is this tech, guys? I would not imagine that King 4 of diamonds is going to pop me up when I see about this flop. And then he gives up later. Wow, he even is going to give up on an 8. That's quite sick. That rivered 8. How does he give up this card? That's crazy. That's crazy, man. Maybe he's taking the showdown of King 4 on the turn, and then the 8 like just makes his opponent too much stuff, and he decides not to try and bluff Flushie off it. That's like, to me, this is super interesting, actually. If I played this hand randomly somehow and got to this river, I would probably just end up betting small, figuring my opponent will fold some stuff because it's so hard for me to have a bluff, you know, on this particular run out. But Linus disagrees. Am I a watch enthusiast? I do not give a single fuck about watches. Watches tell the time, and do you know what? I know the fucking time. So I don't need $50,000 investment to tell me what the fucking time is. Hold the watch hostage until the owner agrees to more commentary. Yes, that's a great idea. If he doesn't wake up right now and join the stream, I'll hold it hostage. But do you know what's really fucking tilting about the watch? So I was looking into the best ways to get it. Like, he's in the UK at the moment, and I'm also in Europe, so pretty close by. And I was going to send it. If you send it to the UK, brand new watch, 20% VAT. So that's like 8k euros, whatever. So the only way to get it to him is to fucking bring it myself. Like, I am fucking busy, mate. I do not want to bring a fucking watch to the UK. So it's tough, bro. I don't really know what to do. I'm gonna talk to him. Maybe he'll hook me up. I say like, look, bro, I'm almost 40 years old. I've got a fucking baby. Can you come here, please? I'll buy you a beer, man. Come on. Keen to hear your stories. Is there a podcast or something we talk about? I mean, I guess just on and off. I talk about whatever. But there's no specific thing, no, where I sit around discussing. Like a few years ago, somebody offered me to come on their show. They host some sort of like a poker podcast type of thing and asked me about my stuff, and I was just like, whatever, nah, because it's just not really that interesting. But I don't know. Maybe it is that interesting. I'm not sure because I often end up talking to younger regs about various topics, and I feel like I have that old man knowledge now at this point. Plus, I can kind of break through to them because I can relate so much to why they think all of this stuff. Yeah, I like the concept of helping younger dudes that are similar out in avoiding some of the problems that I had to deal with. That on a gift, JPM, I'm not an expert, mate. That's just what I heard. I had somebody research this for me, and they said it looks like you're probably gonna end up having to pay 20% if you do that. Don't you have friends close that travel to UK sometimes? I mean, I don't have somebody actively going in the next 7 days that I trust, with a fucking expensive gift and shit. So, I mean, yes and no, but, it's basically going to fall onto me, or maybe it'll fall onto Owen if he wants to be helpful, but I don't expect it of him. What were the results from their battle yesterday with Kyan and Flushie? I believe that Kyan got cleaned again. I think Flushie will be up around 10 to 12 buy-ins in total. Just a guess. Not certain about that. All right. These guys may wrap up any time now, which I gotta say would be fantastic because I would love to get up and start the rest of my day. But I am sort of committed to watching the rest of their play. Someone says Kyan made infinite money live to play this now. Um, I mean, yeah, if you're up a lot of money and you enjoyed playing high stakes poker at a high level, I mean, wouldn't you also just flick around and play some of the best players? Oh no. Flushy says they're playing 30 more minutes. Ay, 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 man. My coffee is going to have to wait. Absolutely brutal. But appreciate the text, man. Thank you. Interesting barrel here from Flushy. Third pot on a turn that's very painful for a lot of the single pairs that Linus will check call a small c-bet with on the flop. Like if Linus has one pair of nines, eights, or tens, that's very painful turn spot he's facing. And even if he has a queen, right? I mean, it's not exactly good to be in this situation, but he might have to call with a queen. Yeah, Kyan apparently made it into the Triton as a businessman. This is so sick. I'm gonna Google this. Kyan Mockery businessman Triton. Let's see if this comes up. I'm not finding that. It's so crazy. You know how these pros like Daniel Negreanu and stuff, like they have to deal with this trident thing. This is an interesting looking one from Double L. I guess he faces Flushie's four and just rams over it. With anti, that could be completely standard. I have no idea. I mean, I doubt Linus is just clicking in a stack with no relevant thought. So it's probably just fully standard to 5-bet rip this over a 4-bet. I mean, imagine taking down the pot, right? You win 10k and avoid a coin flip. It's quite a good result for that hand. But obviously sometimes he runs into, pocket nines plus. I don't even know if nines 4-bets. I imagine it 4-bets sometimes. But yeah, what I wanted to say about these people like DNegs and stuff in these Triton invites. If you're a fish and you bring DNegs, like DNegs is like, he's probably, yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's losing in the half fish tournament, but he has to have the absolute lowest win rate out of all the pros, you know? So it's very tough to want to choose to invite him because if you're a businessman getting invited, you probably have the right to say to a pro, hey, look, I want 50%, I want 75% of your action, because that's like one of the ways to offset your own entrance cost in the event is that you get to have action of a player who rates to win. But inviting DNegs is like painful, man. Like you just want to invite like the sickos. So yeah, I'm not sure how these things work. A lot of politics in these high stakes Trident tournaments. A lot of politics. But I want to see kind mockery uh, Triton thing where they he was a businessman. I can't find this. Does anyone know what to Google to find kind mockery inviting someone to the Trident? I want to see who invited. Ah, Dayan says DNegs is losing because he gets killed on day one, right? So you have to play like most of you like so the day one is all regs and like all fish battling all fish. Like they separate them into two different groups. And then day two they combine them. So day one, DNegs has to go and play against reg only. DNegs is getting smoked. So he has to play like the majority of the hands in the event, reg only. So now I can see why the tech is to try and get like random business people, quote unquote, into the event because they get to just print on whales before the ITM stage. I see what's going on now. He invited Robert Flink. Oh yeah, that's cool. Ah, did they just? They probably reset stacks, right? Sorry, give me a second. Not even noticing, just paying zero attention. Such a whale. Oops. Excuse me. Matthias says, Glory days. Around 2015, I was 2x overbetting rivers 20 times every 1,000 hands. About 99% of my overbetting range was bluffs. It's a few times the population overbet, they always had nuts. Yeah, sicko exploit. Who is the reggest fish? I think this Talaus Shakurchi guy. I mean, I don't know if I'm not sure if what's his name? Fuck, I'm mind blanking here. Bill Klein. I'm not sure if Bill Klein plays this Trident stuff. I don't think he does. I would go with Bill Klein if he did play. Who's the reggest fish? Ivy. Oh, that's a painful comment. I don't know if you're allowed to make that comment, Decky, mate. You're new to the scene, bro, you know? You're still a new face on the block. I think you need to be at least like a 10-year pro before you can start fucking putting the dagger into Ivy's back like that, mate. But yeah, I mean, it's sad to see. It's a funny comment. Regist fish. It's a great category. Absolutely lovely category. Mr. Flushie. River overcard. Pedal to the metal. What will he do? He is going to bloke bet. And just tuning into this hand on the river, I have no idea how thin he's going here. There's a chance he's even going as thin as ace queen high. Let's see how this pot develops. What is the thinnest that Linus will raise this for value? It's also an important question. The fishest reg, somebody says Berkey. I don't think you understand the question, mate, unfortunately. Linus will come up with a smallish river raise. Yeah, so this is exciting stuff. Will we see a showdown, though? This is not the show table. Flushie would have to station this off for us to know what's going on with Linus's play here. Is Linus representing a 9? I have no real idea what the action is. I imagine Flushie 3-bet and C-bet and check turn. Very interesting sizing from Flushie. Very interesting raise from Linus. I mean, Linus isn't even going to have a 9, though. So Linus is mainly repping a king. Flushie finds the bet 3-bet jam. So the small sizing, obviously intending on stacking a king, forcing a king to raise. Linus may not have a king. I'm not sure how much he would tank if he had a bluff, though. Like, would he really waste time like this? I don't know how he balances his stuff out. But let's assume that Linus has a king, and now he's considering, can he lay this king down? What would Flushie bet small that he then 3-bets as a bluff? Would Flushie do this with a 6? Would Flushie do this with 7s, 8s, or a 9? It's hard to check a 9 on the turn. He's going to fold. We are not going to see the card here. Did Linus fold a king? Did Flushie have value? Not sure. Fishest reg. Yeah, that's a great question. Who's the fishest reg? It's just really hard to set the bar, like, on what is a reg for the purpose of that question. Because it just depends. Wherever those goalposts are, you just pick whoever's closest and it's good. But in terms of, like, fishy play style, like plays that are whaley that Reg would make. And, like, honestly, you guys can maybe veto this suggestion. I'm going to say that Stefan 11122 is the fishest Reg. That would be the best I can do for a suggestion. What do you guys think about that? All right, sorry about that. Oh, spicy. So what happened here? Flushie c-bets flop in single raise pot, checks back turn, and pumps the river. Pumps the fuck out of the river. Linus mucks. Flushie reveals. Get a dirty 9. A dirty old 9. This is quite sick, honestly. So let's figure out what he was thinking here. So yeah, Flushie with a small c-bet gets check called. Turn goes check check, and river Linus says, alright, I bet this much money. Flushie says, I don't want to call, even though I could easily do that. I fucking raise massive. Linus tanks a bit and folds. Flushie turns over a dirty 9 of diamonds. I think this is one of the funny situations where, like, say you had the 9 of spades, you actually don't block an 8 at all, because Linus just 3-bets 9 8 of spades. So, like, the offsuit is the relevant blocker, kind of. Like, so you'd rather have a club slash a diamond bluffing. But this play looks super weird. Like, there's even a chance he gets called by worse somehow. Linus would have had to value bet. I mean, can he really value bet pocket 7? It doesn't feel like he can for that sizing. So he's just, no, he's never getting called by worse. It's a weird bluff. It's just like he can just call. So I don't really understand why he bluffs this instead of something else. Super confusing to me seeing this play. So I think my internet lagged. I'm catching up on the chat now. Stefan calling me in 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Unfortunately, Stefan not that reliable when it comes to replying to messages. I hit him up a few times. He replied to some of the things, but I don't know, man. I wish this guy well. He's very entertaining. I think I saw him sitting heads up PLO recently, if I'm not mistaken, or I saw a hand history or something. But yeah, I think honestly, if Stefan tries to learn PLO, that would suit him way more. Way more. Because people in PLO love to let you redline all over them. Everybody projects, and people in PLO just don't see the bluffs. You know, at least the bad regs don't. Okay. Where's the post with Prodigy's graph? Well, good question. It's buried somewhere in the latest January high stakes thread on 2+2. Is Tan Xuan a reg? No, he's not. Do we know who's winning in the Kai and Flushie challenge? Yeah, Flushie. He's probably up 10 to 12 binds. That's just my best guess. Stefan was in top 3 before he got scammed. Now he's a wreck. What the fuck? He destroyed Limitless, yeah. So somebody mentions the Limitless challenge. Stefan destroyed Limitless. That was a really, really sick graph. Like, it's perplexing how good the graph was. Like, Limitless just didn't adjust, or I don't get it. But I wouldn't say that Stefan was considered top 3. He was considered like top 10 for sure, and he was the only one in the top 10 that had this unique of a play style. But I think the main thing, it wasn't just that he got scammed. You know, obviously this fucked with his mind a bit. It was more the fact that he didn't really seem to adjust his overall strategy. Like, he had a couple of different modes. He didn't really develop them too much, you know? He just figured, okay, they work, stick with strategy. But everybody else he competes against, like, studies how he plays, learns from it, and then incorporates those things into how they play against him in terms of at least understanding what he's doing. And I think that was the main result, his lack of adjustment and his opponent's constant adjusting. But he had a strategy that was super effective for a good stretch of time and made him a lot of money. So super interesting character in Poker's story. Why did Limitless not play the challenge? Actually, at the very end, he came and played a bit. But I think the stakes are too low for him, and he and others kind of just play big stakes plus these days and play a lot of live, so they don't have that much time. I think if he knew about the event in advance, maybe he would have played. I'm not sure if he was busy during the Christmas period, but He did play a little bit at the end. Charlie Reg is fish or fish is reg. Charlie can win like most bankroll challenges attempted. But I can't give him an award in the categories that you're suggesting, Mason. He's in the running for scammiest business practices and most bankroll challenges incomplete, whatever. Is Limitless even good at heads up? He looked garbo playing Federer a while back. Yeah, I don't know, mate, honestly. Like, I'm certainly no person who knows the landscape, but I mean, to me, I agree. Like, it looks like Limitless just doesn't play heads up. Like, he doesn't know how to play it. Because yeah, like you said, the Fedor playing against Limitless back in the day. I mean, Fedor played better than Limitless. It wasn't close. Limitless got dumped on. And you could have argued, like, okay, Limitless is intentionally overfolding because he's got a read on Fedor that seems to be wrong, that Fedor is just knitting. You could have summarized it like that. But then he goes ahead and plays Stefan, and he's just getting absolutely destroyed by Redline. Like, pure green line, red line up for Stefan. So I think it was a statement about how he was playing heads up, at least at that point in time. Maybe after this he went and studied it a bit or something. But yeah, at that time he certainly didn't look like he knew what he was doing. Either that or he was advertising to get action. Pretty expensive, but interesting strategy. Yeah, Jared, if you find that story curious at all, you could search on my channel for a video with that dude, and you'll see something that you'll probably enjoy. Be right back. Fucking hell. I just realized I actually have something on at 12, man. My whole fucking morning's gone. God fucking damn it. I gotta hire a commentator, guys. Please fucking hook me up with a commentator. Because I don't want these matches to go uncovered. Like, this is just too cool. Like, imagine you're Flushie. You take a break from online poker, for a significant period of time. Or at least a break from, I don't know, maybe he played some underground stuff online, but he didn't play on main sites for ages. Takes a break. Comes back for the Cash Game World Championship because he likes the idea of the event and wants to show support. Play, like, get some like 4-table, 6-table grinds going, like back in the day, clicking around, enjoying. And then some guys like, oh, let's play some heads up 2 and 4. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll play. Why not? Get some heads up going. Plays this guy at 40k, wins like 500k off him or whatever. And then Linus wants to play some heads up 40k. It's like, yeah, sure, why not? This is the guy where, like, he never quit winner at a live table, I'm not saying he loses the money back before he leaves. I'm saying that he just won't quit the game. He'll be the last guy at the table. So you have to admit, okay, man, you beat me. I'm going to go home. Limitless chucking bottles of red wine while presumably sniffing white substances wasn't the most outrageous thing he did that evening. The thing is, how do you do blow and get drunk and then play like a fucking nit? That's the thing that's weird, right? Like, I kind of understand that as a level where you do some shit like that and then, like, you think your opponent's going to think you're spewing, but he just played like a nit the whole time and he overfolded everything. And his opponent never even had it. It was fully embarrassing. I remember this pretty well because I was doing coverage for that. I believe. Like I think I was like, this is when I was. Is it the one with Doug and Charlie or the one with you projecting? The one with you projecting. That is a great video title, by the way. It's a very, very apt video title. Who is winning right now? Well, they broke a previous table. I think Linus had a few stacks on that table, so Linus could distribute the money onto other tables. So they broke a table once, or maybe they were resetting time bank. I think it was a dollars thing though. Flushie is up. Look, he has a 200k stack over here. I'm guessing Flushie is up 4 to 6 buy-ins in this session. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I'll go 3 to 6 because I didn't pay enough attention to be certain. But Flushie will be winning today. So yeah, I mean, these guys... I mean, I gotta fucking get changed, man. I gotta be somewhere at 12. It's 11:20. I guess I'll just go get changed. Maybe I'll watch this one part. This looks a little bit exciting. Okay. All right, what are we working with here? Min pots? I'm on a side quest, boys. A fucking side quest going on. Do you want to see my side quest? Or you want to see some poker? Oops. You want to see the side quest? Oh, Jesus Christ. It's now or never. I'm about to embark on the journey. No, I can't afford to do that, mate, unfortunately. So no side quest it is. Unlucky. Side quest. There's 2 votes for and 1 vote against me. Alright, I'm allowed to enjoy myself here. I don't really want to interrupt the poker though. That is a thing. Maybe we can do it all at the same time. Alright, I'm gonna minimize that. I will do this. And now I'll display display my side quest. All right. You see this motherfucker? See this guy? This man with fantastic genetics. Okay, he's involved in the side quest. In Vegas this year, I was playing some PLO MTTs, and the guy in the picture, he said, you should try this game. It's called Paddle. I like it. And I was like, yeah, man, I'll fuck you up. I'll play some Paddle. Because I love the blind self-confidence buzz. And where are we? Okay, I'm finding the other part of this puzzle. And yeah, he was too strong. I couldn't beat him. And he was actively improving. He's getting coaching and he's really liking. And he is a part of a group that plays in my city Paddle. And he is second on the list here in terms of total rank. He was first, but he didn't play 1 week and then he lost. He came third last week. But yeah, he's one of the best 3 players in this Paddle group. And unfortunately, even though this is my first name, that's not me. I am somewhere fucking down the bottom of this fucking list. Where the fuck am I? Where am I? There I am. I'm 33rd in the list, 32nd place, whatever. So I have a long road to go, but the goal is beat this motherfucker. So I'm about to go for a coaching session to try and improve my skills in the great game of Paddle and take this guy on and come for the top spot. But yeah, these guys play every week. It's all poker players. And last week there were 48 people. Chris Twin is in that group. So are some of the other people that played in the Cash Game World Championship, actually. Daryl, Tobias Duthweiler, Chris, Daryl, Make Boyfriend, and George from BitB Cash. They also play, but they didn't compete in the Cash Game World Championship. Beppe Bergomi, the Italian, he also plays Paddle in that group. We have 48 people last week. Maxi Lemansky is the best, actually. Well, he's top 3, Roman. He was third behind Koray Aldemir and Martin. But yeah, I think he's probably better than them. He just like had one bad session to start things off. Duty is good. Duty is like a top 10, top 15 reg on the rankings. But yeah, it's quite sick. Like, I mean, I've played for 6 months now. I'm probably doing okay for having played for 6 months, but I could be doing better, man. I make too many fucking mistakes. Super fun game, though. Would highly recommend. So yeah, that's the side quest, boys. I'm going on the grind. I'm going to give myself another 6 months. And if I'm not playing, like, in the top league after 1 year, then I'm not the sick cunt reg that I think that I am. I'm just a random whale. So yeah, I give myself 6 more months to be a mainstay in the top division of the poker player thing. And to be fair, like I've played a bit of randoms as well. The poker guys, like the top guys, are actually quite good. Like, I mean, no one's like an actual professional player, obviously. But for casuals, like they're very, very, very good. It's just 2v2, right? How do you pick partners to make it even? Okay, so what they do is it's called an Americano. Oh, let's watch this one pot over here. This is ridiculous looking pot. So Flushie on turn is going 20%, even less, 18%. Linus says min raise. I bet 18%. I raise min. Flushie call. Okay, look at the SPR here. They have 5th pot behind. 6-1 on the river jam. Linus enters the time bank. Flush completes. But yeah, so basically they play something called an Americano. So you divide yourself into leagues. They have it as leagues. And I'm stuck in the 3rd right now, even though I'm actively decent enough to be in the 2nd. So you play with 8 people, and they mix and match so that you play 1 game with every single partner you could have. So that's 7 total matches. and you play 2 games against every single opponent you can have. So it evens out quite nicely. Linus does jam the river. Flushie does not call. Linus turns over a jack and a 3, which was basically a value bet. Fucking weird hand. Fucking weird hand much? Like, should we try and judge if this was value? I mean, for that a price, it can't not be value, right? So it's an SRP. This is disgusting. Flushman bet. LL raise. Flushman click. Linus. Oh, Linus re-click. Flush call. Queen on turn. Check from double L. Flushie stab, which is shown to do wide. Linus a min fucking raise. Min fucking raise. Call. And all in, but for $12,000 into 55K. I do not know what the fuck is going on here. How on earth is that for value? But it can't not be. It can't not be for value. But how the fuck is it for value? What the fuck is this hand, man? This is so fucking weird. And this is the last hand of the session. Hey, man, that's sick. That is truly sick, man. I don't know what the fuck that was. That was cool. I'm gonna ask for you guys. Okay, do a favor. I'm just gonna ask the Flush Master. Do you think he was bluffing? Yo, do you think was bluffing with that J3? Fans want to know. Exclamation mark, which I almost never ever type. Flushie says that he was bluffing, which I don't think is a statement of what Flushie folded. I think it's just Flushie's opinion on what Linus was doing. So that's not to say that Flushie folded better. That's only to say that Flushie's opinion is that it was a bluff. So thank you for the answer. I enjoyed the stream, guys. I really have to go. Otherwise, I'm never going to be better than the blonde man. But yeah, catch you guys